Hi everyone, it's Marina from the jungle, and joining me today is one of our newest Jungleer gigsters, Mriganka Ghosh. Welcome to the Jungle Podcast. Lovely to have you here.
Thanks, Marina, and hi, everyone.
Great. So we're going to spend a little bit of time just learning about your background and your thoughts around project and program management. And I'm really looking forward to hearing about this because I think program and project management is sometimes one of those professions where you can do lots of study, but you really sometimes need some mentoring and coaching to be able to get the outcomes that the role demands of us. But before we get into that, just tell us a bit about yourself and your background and how you find yourself here in, down under.
Sure. Thanks, Marina. So, yes, I have been in the project management space for quite a while now, about more than 17 years. I have a background in engineering, in electronics and telecommunication, post which I worked for a couple of telecom equipment manufacturers, Lucent and Huawei. I worked on site there, essentially making switches and routers and into their software for network equipments. So I think once I completed those tenure, I moved here into Australia and moved into the service sector, IT software services for Telstra. So I've been working there. I started there in Telstra essentially as a developer and a project lead, and then moved into the project management space. I've worked in various type of projects, mostly on the operation support system and the billing support system, and it encompasses various types of projects. To start with, I worked in the operation support system, mostly to do with network activation, alarm management, service activation, fulfillment, assurance, etc. And then I moved into HP, where I worked mostly on the billing systems, mediation and rating, and various types of other systems that supports the billing and the business systems.
So how did you find how did you find yourself in Australia? What made you come to Australia professionally?
Yeah. So essentially, when I moved into the service sector, IT service sector, their client was based out of Australia. So
Okay.
I was deputed as a software engineer in Australia.
How was that? That must have been a huge shock to the system.
Yeah. I think essentially I had experience working overseas and mostly for telecom. So I think they found that it suits best for them. So since I had already the experience, so I got selected for this opportunity.
Wow. I know I got to work overseas and it just broadens your knowledge and your skill sets and your understanding of people in a
Yes.
way that you
Yes.
just can't explain to people who haven't done it. Yeah, it's
Right,
amazing.
right. Yeah. And you get to know a lot about the culture as well. And obviously the culture, it reflects in the work as well. Yeah, that's very good learning. So once I moved here, I worked in various types of projects. Essentially in the past, it was mostly around waterfall.
Oh, yeah.
And then slowly agile came in, and then I got involved in various agile projects as well. Some of these projects were hybrid because as part of the transitioning, not all the projects were agile. Part of it was agile, part of the requirements were delivered waterfall, so it was hybrid as well. So that's a rich experience, and I consider myself fortunate to work in all these various types of methodologies.
Yeah, yeah.
And over this period of time, I worked in various types of projects, covering from small projects like enhancements, IT infrastructure upgrades, cybersecurity projects, and then to digital migrations, customer migrations, digital transformations, cloud solutions, SaaS, ERP implementations, etc. And it was a really terrific journey.
That's a lot. There's so many different elements to pick up, like all different styles
Yeah.
of business projects and then turn your mind to it. Do you have a secret, like any tips for people who perhaps are just starting off in that, senior project manager or program management world? Any
Yeah,
tips?
I think
Look at things, yeah, overwhelmed?
I think there's no silver bullet, right? So it's mostly around what experience offers you, and you learn from it, right? So every project taught me something to learn from that. And yeah, just essentially learning is a continuous process, right? So there are a lot of all these projects have something to offer, and I take that and ensure that I implement it in my next projects, etc.
I think it's important to even to have that idea that we're always learning in programs and project
Yes,
management
yes,
because it is hard
absolutely.
work. It's really hard, and it's
Yes.
easy to become discouraged when you have a few failures or things not going to
Right. Yeah. I mean, always to look I think one important aspect is resilience, right? So mistakes will happen. I mean, if we don't, then we don't learn anything, right? It's very boring. So everything
Yeah.
has something to offer. We learn something, and yeah, mistakes does happen. So we learn from it and ensure that we don't repeat it, right? So that's important.
Do you feel brave enough? Like, what's your biggest mistake that you've ever watched or you've ever been a part of in a
Yeah.
project?
I mean, initially when I was novice,
Don't say any
right, at the
names, though.
very
Don't say
beginning.
any names.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
okay.
no. So yeah, a lot of things, right? So at the very beginning of my career as a project manager, when I was a project manager, obviously the clients were demanding, right? So they had very tight timelines to meet, and whatever timelines I offered, it didn't work out for them, right? They always wanted a notch up. Right. So if you say that you could do something in 10 days, they would say, can you do it in 5 days? If you say I can do it in
Yeah.
one day, they can say, oh, can you do it yesterday? So it's always up, right? It never meets, right? So then I think that was always the case initially, and then I realized that it's always good to have some options instead of just saying that you can't do. You come up with some options, right? And you present it to the stakeholders and say that okay, these are the options you have, and you suggest this is a recommendation from my side,
Yeah.
and then at the end it's a stakeholder, you take the call. So this is very different to going to some customer and saying, hey, I can't do it, whatever you ask, sorry, I can't do it, it's not realistic. So that was a mistake I had to make in the very initial stages of my career, and then I learned.
Big It's such a big part managing timelines, and expectations with stakeholders. Because like
Yes,
in PMBOK and, all of those sort of training manuals, or they tell you, like, manage stakeholders,
yes,
but
absolutely.
it doesn't really capture it until you're actually out in the field learning around what does that
Yes,
actually look.
absolutely right. There are a lot of stakeholders who have different views, right? Some of these,
Mm,
their views could be conflicting with each other, right? And then you kind of manage, and that no book teaches you, right? What
yeah.
life teaches you, right? These are something that life offers you, and you learn from it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so the other thing is obviously is a good point to raise this around the stakeholder management, right? So the various stakeholders, if all the stakeholders are aligned, then that makes things easy. But sometimes I've often seen the various stakeholders at very different requirements. There are conflicts, power games involved, right? And then
Mm.
that becomes really tricky to navigate. But yeah, I mean, at the end, it happens. You get through it, but that can be really challenging, which I also encountered before when, yeah, there are different
Mm.
stakeholders and their different interests, different viewpoints, and to align all of them is sometimes, yeah, a challenge.
I'm smiling because I think you're being very diplomatic, because I think the more complicated the projects, the more challenging a lot of the stakeholders become,
Yes, yeah,
because,
yeah, yeah, yes,
the
that's right.
projects, when there's more at risk, some of that
Yes,
behavior you talk about can get a little bit out of control, and you're just trying to manage everything as best you can. I think you're
yes,
very diplomatic, which then leads me to your really cool gig pack that you have up on the platform. And I love, this service where you're 40 hours on demand for organizations that maybe, who need to have a project manager or some of the skills that you bring, or even for individuals who perhaps want to, like, a mentor or someone they can lean on and not feel overwhelmed, just really not feeling scared that, and the decisions. Being able to have someone you can call on, I think, is so valuable. Do you want to talk a little bit around what you're doing? Like, this 40 hours is pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, that's right. So that pack is essentially around a 40 hours on-demand project management, wherein all different types of aspects of project management is covered there. Obviously, various projects has different requirements, but generally, right from the initiation of a project to the planning phase, the execution, and the closure, all these various activities are covered. As part of that, however, noting that the requirements can vary for
Yeah.
different types of projects. Then the other pack wherein I'm offering mentorship to project managers around the kick off. For example, if it is agile or other methodologies as well, what are the various ceremonies that agile has to offer? I can sort of help that. Yeah, through the
Oh,
experience
yeah,
that
it's
I have.
really because, particularly, with AI coming in over the horizon and we're seeing organizations downsize and that becoming leaner and leaner. And I think one of the things that we're going to miss out on is when you have a bigger workforce, just the capacity to better mentor and support each other. There's, AI is replacing a lot of those functions, just not going to have people inside the organizations, and smart businesses will be looking for services like you offer to add to their key people, particularly project and program managers, to make
Right.
sure that, they're still feeling supported. I think it's really, really particular. I think AI is it's already rapidly changing the landscape, but I think it's going to become more and more important going forward. What are your thoughts on
Yes.
AI?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think AI is evolving very fast, right? Because with each and every day you hear some acronyms around
Mm,
AI, right? The other day I was reading a lot about CAG and different retrieval systems in AI. It's becoming faster each and every day, right? So there's a lot of churn happening, and that causes a lot of anxiety in the teams as well, right?
yeah.
What it can do. Yeah, so yeah, I have although not worked essentially in AI projects, but I've worked on some of the tools, AI tools for project management, like for example, Asana. So yeah, they're very good tools
Mm,
which help project managers. Earlier in the past, a lot of the things a project manager had to do on its own, but with these tools is something that I look as something that really helps you to plan effectively. Yeah, so I've
mm,
worked on some of the tools, and a lot of heaps of tools I've seen in the net for project management. So it's really good to, and I think there are a lot of training sessions which you can do for
mm.
free around project management tools that AI has to offer. So
Yeah,
I really recommend taking those courses. That really helps. I've taken a few of them. That's
yeah.
really helpful.
Yeah, that's good, really great advice around keeping us all skilled up. And I've
Yes,
taken a few
absolutely.
emails and calls today, people actually doing it. So saying, I'm updating my skill set to include AI
Yes,
now,
yeah, yeah,
not just
yeah,
for their
absolutely.
CV, but just for their
Yeah,
own confidence and their awareness of how things are changing. That's really good
yeah,
advice.
yeah,
Well, our time together is nearly finished. Can you believe that? We
yeah.
could talk
It's
for
real
hours. I
fun.
was like talking to you.
Real
All
fun.
right. All right. We've got, just to finish up, three very important questions, super important questions, just so we all know. What's your favorite colored ice? What's your favorite flavored ice cream?
Rocky roads.
Rocky Roads. Wow.
Yeah,
That's a very specific one. Okay.
yeah.
Hot weather or cold weather? What's your favorite?
Cold, cold. Yeah,
Cold,
I
cold.
like.
Yeah, me too.
I like Melbourne. Yeah, I like cold. I can't.
I don't understand people moving to the heat. I'm like, well, that sounds dreadful. And very last question, which is extremely important for the jungle community. What is your football team? Favorite football team?
I follow the international soccer, so I always go for Brazil.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a good team. So you're off the hook for not having it. Well, if you do need a football team, we're a big supporter of Port Adelaide, so you can be on a really good. Thank you so much. I have really enjoyed our time together. I think some really cool insights there around program management, project management. We're going to leave details of your gigs pack below. And any final thoughts or comments that you'd like to send to the jungle community?
No, I think it's a very exciting journey for me from essentially a complete full-time employment to freelancing, and I'm sure it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, yeah, we're really
Yeah,
glad to have you in the community. So
yeah.
thank you so
And thanks for
much.
providing me the opportunity.
Thank you for joining in. All right, we'll see you very soon. And for those who are interested, you can see all the latest gig packs on our website at www.jungle, that's spelled jungal.com.au. Thank you, and we will see you in the jungle real soon.